The new Clash mode is the best thing to happen to League of Legends, and I know what you're thinking. Isn't this just flex queue with a bunch of extra features and rewards? Why, you suck and ride stick, this is not the best thing to happen to League of Legends, calm down. Well, a lot of you guys may not know this, but playing League of Legends with a full 5v5 coordinated and competitive team is very different than playing like a 5-man normals, just playing whatever the hell you want, or even playing solo queue, which is still a competitive environment, but not to the same extent as 5v5. And I'd say it's so different that it feels like you're playing a completely different game. Now, that's extremely ludicrous for me to say because it's the same game, same champions, you're still pressing QWER and doing all your combos to kill people, but the problem is, League of Legends isn't just like an action battle game, it's a battle strategy game. At its core, it originated from the strategy genre, and there's a lot of strategic elements in League of Legends, like playing the map and manipulating waves and trying to do objectives at certain times to outwit the enemy. And League of Legends, in my mind, is basically a strategy game where you have a fifth control of the game. So, normally in a strategy game, like the classic strategy game of chess, you can control every unit. Or in Civilization, you can control every unit and strategize that way. But in League of Legends, it's the same type of strategy, but you're only in control of a fifth of it. So if you're playing like solo queue or just fucking around in normals, even if you're 5v5 and you're not playing super serious and you don't know a lot about the map control and stuff, you can still have fun and win, but it feels a lot more like an action game where you're just trying to kill the enemy and hopefully push down the towers and stuff, and it doesn't really feel super strategic. League doesn't really feel like a strategy game. But if you have a full team of 5 coordinated players that have a good understanding of the game, and you have the same goals, and you all are on the same page, as if you were one person controlling all the 5 units, the strategy and gameplay potential just opens up so much, and especially combined with the game being extremely competitive, especially in the Clash mode, it brings a lot more joy and fun that you can't really have on the surface with League of Legends. Now, a lot of you guys are probably going to be extremely skeptical of these statements I made, especially if you haven't played League of Legends in a super competitive 5v5, a full team coordinated setting, which I don't blame you because Riot has done a really bad job up until now of facilitating that type of environment, but there's a lot more that goes into winning a game of League of Legends than just 5 people not arguing and doing their job. Because those things are very important, but hey, what if the enemy team is not fighting and also doing their job? Then who wins besides the person who has the most individual skill? And the answer isn't really so black and white, because what if your top lane is doing better than the enemy top lane, but your mid is being destroyed by the enemy mid, but the jungle is trying to compensate a little bit in mid, and you're doing pretty decent bot lane? Like, who's gonna win? Is it gonna be the person with the better comp? Maybe, but comp isn't the only thing that goes into winning a game of League of Legends. The typical winner is gonna be the team with the most coordination in map movement and grouping up and manipulating waves and sieging at the right time and taking objectives at the right time. Now, if you're in gold or maybe higher silver, you probably know this because a lot of people say the classic line, let's group as 5 and win the game. And this is an issue that a lot of players in League of Legends have grasping. Some people just think, oh, it's time to group, because around this time, we group. But obviously, there's other strategies in League of Legends, like split pushing and stuff. For example, I recently had this game where we were crushing the game. We were almost guaranteed to win. We were winning every team fight, kicking ass, and the person who was getting the most kills and gaining the most income from these team fights was our full damage master Yi. Now, we were doing great in team fights, we had a really good comp to facilitate his damage in team fights, and we got to the point where we had mid inhib down, bot inhib down, and we only needed top lane. But for some reason, this Master Yi decided, hey, split pushing wins games. I guess it's time for me to split push. And it wasn't just him split pushing and we ignored it and we lost the game based off that. It was literally like, he was split pushing and he was like, okay guys, fight 4v5 and I'll split push and try to take towers. And the waves just weren't there when he was trying to split push for us to actually get any push while he was split pushing. Basically, we didn't have the wave all the way up there. He did because he was going in a lane with inhibs down, so obviously he's gonna push faster. In that case scenario, you want just the super minions to do their thing and for everyone to push down top. But this Master Yi did not really know what he was doing in terms of winning the game through strategic means. He only knew how to get kills, basically. And he did play really well in those team fights, but he just had no idea when to split push or why split pushing was good. And it didn't just happen once. He was like, I'm gonna split push everyone group, and for the sake of just proving him wrong, I went through with it one time and the whole team went through with it, and obviously they caught him out, he died, and then by the time he died, that's when our minion wave got to the tower, and by that point they could just rotate top and destroy us all 4v5, because Master Yi was like a third or even maybe half of our damage at that point in the game, because he was like 13 and 4 or something with like Infinity Edge, and he skipped the jungle item and he was going full crit, and he basically had a lot of the team's gold incoming damage. He didn't really get the memo, and he kept doing it 3 more times, and every time we kept losing to the same type of thing, he was like, oh, you guys are doing it wrong, or blah blah blah. And we basically lost the game because he was so strong-headed in trying to win through split pushing, even though it wasn't the correct way to win. And this is actually why I rarely ever surrender in solo queue, is because if I were on that enemy team, it would have been like, surrender at 15, GG, they're kicking their ass, but there's always the potential that the enemy team is going to make stupid macro plays, stupid team decisions, and not really capitalize on their lead. And if you have a decent late game champion on your team and you don't completely fall off, you can always outwit the enemy through map movement, even if they have all the advantages in the world. Now you're probably wondering, why am I talking about all this? The reason I'm talking about this is because I want to establish that winning a game of League of Legends doesn't always come down to you playing the best you can and you winning your lane. In solo queue, that is the best way to try and win the game. You usually want to pick a champion who has the potential to carry people, basically make up for the lack of competent teammates, kind of like Ornn. He's basically like the power of 3 champions in one at the moment. Or just like an assassin who, if you're good enough at the champion, can pop off and make up for a lot of your team's shortcomings. And that's usually the strategy you want to go in solo queue, because the only consistent factor is yourself. But in 5v5s, there is more to it than that. Everybody's a consistent factor. As long as you have a team of 5 people who are dedicated to winning and willing to listen to a shot caller, basically that shot caller has control of all 5 of the pieces instead of just a 5th. And you can just think in so much broader terms for how to win the game and how to deal with certain situations in the game with all 5 players in mind. For example, if you and the enemy are about to have a 5v5 fight in mid lane, and the enemy top wave is pushing into your inhib tower, and you need someone to go back and deal with that top lane, but you don't have a TP and you don't have any champions with a global teleport like TF or Tom Kenshalt, you need to make sure the right person goes back to deal with that wave and that you don't engage that team fight. But in solo queue, you might not be able to coordinate and figure out which teammate is the best to go back, because all the teammates are going to be like, I'm not going to go back, I want to contribute to that team fight. And then you just let the wave push in, or too many people go back and you don't have enough people to defend the mid lane. But if you're in a group with 5v5 and, for example, you have Alawi as your top laner, normally in solo queue it would be like, oh yeah, top laner, deal with your lane. But if you have an Alawi, you'd want the Alawi to stay in that 4v5 situation, so if they do manage to get an engage on you, you can counter them with the Alawi ult and tentacle combos, because Alawi is the best counter engage champ in the game. You don't want to have her split pushing top lane, because if she's split pushing top lane and then the rest of the team is there to defend themselves, and most of them are probably not that tanky except for maybe the support, they are gonna get fucked. but if Alawi's there, you can actually maybe turn around the fight and win that 4v5. Now, those are the type of decisions that are possible to make in solo queue, especially if everyone has a good understanding of the game overall, but in a 5v5 voice comm scenario, you can make those decisions so much faster, especially with a shot caller, and all those decisions being made faster throughout the game, whether it be like Baron calls or other macro decisions, can help you sustain leads and prevent throwing, but also capitalize on throws of the enemy team, and in sometimes very extreme scenarios where the enemy team has 20 kills and you have 5 kills overall, if you have the better macro decision and better team play and communication, even if you all lost lane, you can have the potential to come back and capitalize on the mistakes of the enemy team macro-wise. And this new level of strategy, obviously it's not required to win games, as you can see in solo queue and normal games and stuff, but if both teams have that ability and you're being super competitive, it's just like, it's competitive League on another level. It's the competitive satisfaction you get in solo queue, but on another level, because nothing is holding you back technically, and it's just like, the potential is limitless to outplay your opponent. And it just becomes a lot more fun, and you're thinking of the game in a super new way, and it's just such a great experience to the point where it feels like a completely different game. And this is the experience I've been missing, and that this is the void that Clash is gonna fill. And you guys are probably wondering, again, back to the original question, why can't you do this in Flex? Why can't you do this in 5v5 normals? What's the big deal about Clash? Okay. So in normals, the MMR is obviously not as strict. Even if you're like a team of 5 diamonds, you have the potential of going against some silvers, and it's probably gonna be a stomp. And that's not fun competitively. It can be fun to stomp people, obviously, but you're not gonna get a lot of satisfaction in the game itself, especially since it's a normal, and you're not really gonna gain anything from it except for maybe a first win of the day and getting your normals wins counter up, which doesn't really mean anything in the long run. People really don't want to waste all their competitive energy and try and build comps and be super serious about winning a normals game. Like, they can pretty easily win if they just play a bunch of like carry fun on their own type champions, and people aren't going to be super serious in normals. Now, you could argue that Flex is going to be more competitive, but on the contrary, Flex, number one, if you want to play with people of very different ranks, like Plat with a Silver, for example, you can't really do that because Flex has the same ranked restrictions as solo queue. And also, ever since Season 7, when they split Dynamic Queue into Solo Queue and Flex Queue, people only really care about Solo Queue rank. If you have Flex Challenger, obviously I'm gonna be like, wow, you got Flex Challenger? Dude, that's great. But if they have a Challenger in Solo or Master, I'm gonna be like, holy shit, dude, are you signing up for the Scouting Grounds? Like, hello? So you're not gonna have the competitive factor there. The closest thing we've had to Clash is actually Dynamic Queue. Because Dynamic Queue, you could queue up as 5, and it went towards your solo queue ranking, your only ranking. So that ranking is still just as important, dude. And the most fun I've actually had in League of Legends, besides like certain changes, or like when Mordekaiser first got reworked and was super OP, or whatever, is playing 5v5, dude. Like, for example, in Season 6, whenever I was in promos to Plat 5, or my friend that I'm dynamic queuing with is in promos to Plat 5, it was always so tense, like trying to do the 5v5 fucking strategies, trying to win the game super strategically, him picking Kog'Maw, me picking Sejuani, top laner picking Shen. We have like this amazing Protect the Kog'Maw comp. We're just playing it out to the fullest as a full 5v5 team to get this win, to guarantee my friend Plat 5. It's so invigorating. There's so much stakes to it, because if you lose, obviously you get out of promos and it's a big demotivator, but if you win, the satisfaction is just so sweet, especially when you're in control of everyone in the game. There's no like, fuck my teammate, unlucky teammates, GG Riot matchmaking, or anything like that, and winning is just so satisfying. And with this new Clash mode, we're finally gonna have the stakes and the commitment to play again, because not only will we have pretty good rewards, and it's gonna be in a more tournament-based setting, which will make winning even more satisfying, but also, nobody can really troll around this time, because you have to commit with tickets that cost BE, and there's also the gambling aspect of the tickets. So if you put in like 10 tickets or whatever the max amount of tickets you can put in is, and you win that game, it's just gonna be like 10 times more satisfying, dude. Maybe not 10 times, but like, it's gonna be so much more satisfying, and it's just gonna be such a great feeling. And even if you don't win, or if it's a really close game, you're still gonna have that great feeling of just having every strategical possibility available to you in League of Legends. Basically, playing 5v5 competitive to me is like unlocking a big lock in League of Legends, which is full control of the game. It's like you've been playing this strategy game of League of Legends gimped the entire time. You've only been playing with a fifth of the control. But once you unlock that, maybe I'm being over dramatic, but like if you're really committed and your team is all on the same page, like just having that amount of possibilities is like playing League of Legends with literally 5 times more control, 5 times more options. It's basically like the Enlightenment meme with like the fucking mind just growing and growing and glowing and glowing more and more as you play these different ways of playing League of Legends. And finally with Clash, with all the new systems in place, it's just gonna be the perfect blend of everything, and this is just gonna be so much fun. Not to mention that it's only at specific times. So another problem I had specifically with the old 5v5 system from season 5 and before is that it was really hard to coordinate times for people together, because, you know, you could play 5v5 ranked at any time. So it's just like Billy says like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this at 9 o'clock, and obviously the other 4 people are gonna agree and say, oh yeah, 9 o'clock, but what if that one person has something else they'd rather be doing, and they're like, I can be late and come at 9:15, you know, it's just Billy, like, you know, they'll understand, they're cool. But with Clash, it's gonna be at super specific time, so you either make it or you don't make it, so there won't be as much frustration. I remember, and this was painful, in Season 4 when I was having a semi-competitive team, in ranked 5s, we would wait over an hour for people to come, because they just want to get on whenever they wanted. It was League of Legends, but we were literally waiting for this guy to get on to play 5v5s for over an hour. And I mean, it was annoying, but I didn't mind waiting just because I liked playing 5v5 so much, so it was worth. But obviously it was super annoying, and this new time thing with Clash is gonna help so much. I know they did this a bit at the very end of Season 5 with 5v5s, but it didn't really help too much. That was like when the game mode, and we already knew the game mode was going to be thrown out anyway, so people didn't really give a shit at that point. But with Clash and all the new features, everything is just put in place to make this a serious competitive mode, and we can finally play League of Legends to the fullest. Riot has always designed League of Legends as a team-based game with team play, and that's why over the seasons it's gotten more and more annoying with bad teammates. And I think the complaint of bad teammates GG Riot matchmaking has been more and more valid throughout the years, because Riot keeps developing this game to be a team-based game where it can be played solo with a lot of fun like assassin-like champions, but the best way and most ideal way to play League of Legends is obviously like having a tank, having a mage, having the most optimal team comp and shit like that. And it's a very team-based game, but for the longest time Riot has never made a proper way to facilitate 5v5 gameplay, and now they finally have with Clash, and we're going to see a lot more potential with League of Legends. And I guarantee you that a lot of current League of Legends players will like this game even more, and it might potentially even bring on more new League of Legends players who's never played the game before, but hey, their friend told them about it and told them how fun Clash was, and they want to get in on the action. So this was a very long ramble, a very long video, longer than I intended to make it. But this is why I am so incredibly hyped for Clash more than anything else in League of Legends. As was said in the Riot Please video, a lot of great things happened to League of Legends in 2017 that actually, like, I didn't even realize how many great things came out in 2017 until they made that video recapping all of it and then announcing Clash. But even out of all of those things, nothing compares to what Riot is about to bring us. And I know a lot of people don't understand how important this is. A lot of people don't really realize that this is going to bring so much joy to so many people, much more than they anticipate, because they just think it's Flex Q with some extra knickknacks, because they've never had the chance to experience League of Legends 5v5 like I have in Season 4 and Season 6. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I have other videos on the screen right now here. You can watch them if you like. You can subscribe if you like. And be sure to create a Clash team. If you weren't thinking about it before, you definitely should be thinking about it now, because this shit is going to be so fucking hype. And I am extremely jealous of the people in EU right now who have this early, even though NA gets so much stuff early. Why do you have to get the best thing early? Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Bye.